Well, I'm going to get going. Let's see here. Get my screen going. Start my slideshow. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Really appreciate you signing up and being here tonight. We've been looking to do a demo night for a couple of weeks now. My name is Ian Coltis. I am one of the co-founders of BenchBoss. BenchBoss is a stats platform that we've been working on for a couple of years now, but really in the last 2 years, there's been a ton of development. A lot of teams constantly, adding to our platform, and we're continuously adding new features. So I'm just going to get into the slideshow, and like I kind of said for some people that were coming in here, my goal is not to have this very long presentation. I really just want to give you an idea of kind of what we do, how we think we can help your program, and I'd like to just show you how it works and open it up to questions. If you're not comfortable with, unmuting and asking a question, feel free to put in the chat. And if you want to just write me an email after and ask me a question, you want a one-on-one, I do demos for people all the time. So if you want to see a little bit more, but you don't want to do it here, I know sometimes it's a little bit intimidating. So feel free to reach out to me. I'll definitely make it work. I'll get the time to run the demo and, like I said, show how it works. So let's get into it. So first thing, what's BenchBoss? BenchBoss it's an amateur basketball platform. It provides coaches the ability to stat practice, stat games, and really the most important piece is effortlessly share the information with their team. That's the real thing. If you look, anything you see with us, we're always trying to promote stat sharing made easy, and really that's what it's all about. So before I get into that, I just want to kind of introduce you to our founders. There's myself, Dave D'Entremont. Dave's on the call here. And my sister, Erica Kennedy. She's the other co-founder. Now we have some other people on the call here that are on our team, but these are our three founders. So my experience, this is my first year as university coach in Newfoundland for the Memorial Seahawks. Really this idea for BenchBoss came to me at the grassroots level. I've been working with youth for the last 20 years. Started like anybody, finished high school, wasn't great enough to play university basketball. So I started coaching. Love basketball, always wanted to find a way to stay in basketball. So that's really how I got my start in coaching. So I've good coaching experience. Outside of that, before this, I've run a couple businesses. I actually worked for the University of Marketing and Communications before I took the job as head coach. Dave, who you see there in the middle, Dave is a well-seasoned business veteran in the Newfoundland community for sure. I met Dave by coaching his kids. Dave also has a passion for basketball. And I just started talking to Dave one day about my idea for BenchBoss. And Dave's background is in digital marketing, app development, website development. So as we started talking, we just kind of, felt like it was a natural fit. And Erica has really fit in here. Erica gave me an opportunity to coach. I wouldn't be coaching if it wasn't for Erica. She started a club 20 years ago now, Future Stars in Newfoundland. And, me and her did most of our coaching together. We did, a lot of Newfoundland programs, club programs. And Erica just has a lot of great insight. She's currently she's coach assistant with the women's Seahawks team before. Once I took the men's job, she's actually with me at the men's program right now. Erica played 5 years of varsity basketball at Memorial, AUS All-Star, AUS champion, and played some pro basketball as well. And she also spent some time working with the Timberwolves and the Lynx. So between the three of us, we feel like we got a really good, skill set to, listen to the community. We've been working with, like I said, the grassroots level. So that's kind of how three of us came together.
Ian.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
yeah. Can't see the presentation.
Oh, can you?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
All right.
How about now? Can you see there now?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So the big question, why do we start BenchBoss? So the biggest thing for me, I feel like I've tried everything out there. I've done paper stats. I've tried so many different applications. Quite honestly, like there is a ton of really good applications out there. There's a lot of great, free things on the internet to be able to do your stats. The biggest issue that I had was that it took me so much time after the game to get my info to the players. As an amateur coach, I'd be coming home after a weekend tournament being, Friday night at the kitchen table, trying to break down the stats, trying to email them out to the players. We'd have a Facebook group. I'd be screenshotting the stats, putting them in our Facebook group, sending guys shot charts. And then as I started looking back on it, I was spending between an hour and a half to 2.5 hours after all of our games to try and get our players the stats. And, as an amateur coach, where, I was doing it as a volunteer, I was really doing it because I wanted to help develop my players. I wanted to win. I was trying to make my teams as good as could be. But it was really just taking me a ton of time. And I just knew that, if I wanted to keep doing this as a career, I needed to be able to find a way to share things a little bit easier. The other thing with it is the players never had access to it. If I was doing stats, they were living on my device. They were on my tablet. They were in, one of my spreadsheets. And then as we went season to season, I'd constantly have players asking me, can I get my stats from last year? Or I'm talking to this coach, or, I'm trying to plan out my development schedule. It'd be really good if I could get my stats. So once again, I was spending time on the weekends doing it. And then after the fact, I was spending more time trying to get it to the players. So it was just trying to find a way to get it to them a little bit easier. And then the last thing was just controlling my own fate when I was coaching. Like I said, I coached a lot of years of provincials and nationals. We'd go away and there'd be a table there, stack crew at the table. At the end of each quarter, you're getting your sheets, getting your stats. And the moment for me, I remember we were playing Quebec one year, barely could get the ball across half. We must have had 20 turnovers in the first quarter, pulling our hair out, as you can see. That was the last day of my hair when we played Quebec. And then I got this score sheet after the first quarter, and we had no turnovers listed. And I'm there trying to give our guys feedback. It was really hard to they need to see it. They need to know what it is. And I wasn't able to do that. And then even at the university level, we use Synergy. Synergy is a fantastic program. We got tons of, you get everything you need. But the problem is Synergy, we're getting the stats the next day. So it's great for it's great for scouting. It's good for game prep. But we weren't getting them fast enough. And then same thing, we were always relying end of quarter, at halftime, end of third quarter, end of game to get our stats. So when we integrated BenchBoss, we had access to it the entire game. So we were able, I call a timeout in the second quarter and I need to see something, I can see it. I want to see the shot charts at halftime. It's all available on the tablet, ready to go. So these are our solutions. I mean, the biggest thing is the ease of use to share it. So someone sits down, stats the game, and at the end they hit complete game, all the stats get pushed to every player's profile. They have instant access to their stats right when the game ends. I go home, I can, enjoy my free time, scout for the next game. I don't need to sit at the table and break down all the stats. It was all shared with everyone. The personal profiles is a big one. So every player has their own profile. You kind of think like LinkedIn, they log in, their profile, they get their stats on their own page. So that's year to year, game to game. They go into their profile, a player gets their stats. The advanced data tracking, like I said, at the university level, we're getting the stats and analytics, the next day at the end of the quarters. We're getting advanced stats now with BenchBoss throughout the game. So we're getting like real metrics, efficiency, point per possession, usage rate, all these things. We're able to access the entire game. And then the collaboration factor. That's really another one of the big ones. Right now I can, we have a group text with our Seahawks team, and I can put out messages like, screenshot something from BenchBoss, send it to them. The guys can go in and check it. They go in and like guys are asking me questions all the time, whether it's like, trying to plan out their development, whether it's, coach, I did this in the game, and and they're able to view it after the game. So there's just more opportunity to have conversations with players. And that's what I'm seeing all the time. Like after a game, we get almost a 100% open rate on our stats after a game finishes, because players want to see those stats. After a practice, same kind of thing. They want to go on their phone. They want to open it. And the collaboration factor, I know like I said, there's other apps that I've used that you're sending it to players' emails. You're maybe screenshot and send them to another way. If you want to interact with today's player, you better have it on their mobile phone. That's what's in their face all the time. So if you want to, collaborate, you better find a way to collaborate on their phone. And that's really what we did with BenchBoss. So a couple of our features, I won't leave this one up too long. I'll kind of go into them. But just a quick overview, our real-time insights, the detailed game breakdowns, the cutting edge analytics, the profiles, practice stats, live game stats. So just to give you a look at an example of a real-time insight. So this is our game story feature. The way the game story works, if you see all the numbers here in blue, those update throughout the season. So all your season averages are there. And then as you're playing a game, at any point, you can hit game story on the app, and it gives you a comparison of what you're doing in this current game versus what your season averages are. Gives you your shot chart, your shooting percentages, and the my team and opponent at any point in the game. If you hit that game story, it'll tell you how many points you're on pace for, how many points your opponent's on pace for. So like just different things. I mean, if, you know, you're a good offensive rebounding team, you're in the second quarter, you hit the game story, and you're like on pace for 10 below your season average, then it gives you insight as to something you might need to tell your team in a timeout. Look, we're not crashing the boards. We need to send 3 to glass. We need to send 4, where you can, you know, talk to certain individual players. If that's their role, then it's easier to point it out. So that game story feature is something that, you know, is one of our most popular features. This is an example of our shot chart. I'm going to go into this stuff when I actually get into the BenchBoss system and show you. I just want to show it to you quick here. But you can go quarter to quarter with your shot charts. You can kind of see up top here the X's and O's and the percentage slider. So you can switch that to X's and O's, but the percentage gives you a better breakdown in the zones. And then you can kind of pick different players. You can do it, you know, one player. You can pick different lineups. You can tailor it to kind of how you want to do it. These are some of our analytics we're showing, you know, points per possession, true shooting percentage, effective field goal percentage. Once again, quarter to quarter, we're giving those things on a team basis, but we're also giving them individually. So, you know, players get them after the game for themselves, but we can also evaluate overall for the team. This is an example of our personal profile. So like I said, kind of like, you know, like anything you'll see on like Twitter, Instagram, you know, you're going in, you got your own profile. This is where this individual player's stats lives. So if he did anything in that game, it's showing up there moments after the game. The player's able to go in game by game, look at them, view the shot chart, view their analytics, you know, actually do some social sharing, which I'll show in a little bit. And this is our newest feature. We launched this last month. This is practice stats. We've actually been using this for about 5 months now with our Memorial team. And what it does is it allows you to make customizable buttons for what you want to track at practice. So at Memorial, we track about 8 things at practice. We're tracking wins and losses, free throws. We have multiple shooting drills we're using, turnovers. I put a whole bunch of things in here so you could see it. But, you know, whether you're tracking 2 things or you're tracking 15 things, you can make it customizable for your own practice. And this, like practice stats, is our game stats interface. So you got 5 players on the court. Everything happens left to right. You're picking your player, picking the action. And if they took a shot, then you're adding it on the shot chart. But it looks, as I go back, it should have the look and feel of the practice stats. So, you know, I know some people aren't playing games right now, but if you actually stat a couple of practices, as soon as you do a game, you'll be ready to go. It basically is like training for our game stats. So at this time, that was the overview of the platform. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually go into BenchBoss, show you how it works. I got a couple things I just wanted to show. If anyone has a question, feel free to, you know, put it in chat, raise your hand, take yourself off mute. Can you still see my screen here?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is how a profile looks. This is Dave's on the call. Dave's been really the guinea pig for BenchBoss over the last couple of years. He's been testing it with all his high school teams, his club teams. So he has a ton of data recorded. So when Dave logs in, this is the screen he sees. Now it'll be a little tiny bit different. I'm on web right now. You can actually access everything through web, or you can access it through iOS. Soon we'll be launching to Android, but even anyone with an Android phone can go in through web and get their stats just like they would through iOS. So we're not limited to just iOS right now. But Dave's able to go in. This is his Holy Heart team from this year. Every time you play a game, it updates your record, gives you your points per game, allows you to do a couple customizable features there. But as Dave scrolls down, he can click on any game. So let's say his last one versus Waterford Valley. He gets the option to view his stats, view his shot charts, view his advanced stats. So if I go into his shot chart, see.
We look at the first game versus Waterford Valley instead. I'll be good from now on. Sorry.
That wasn't a good memory, was it, Bob?
You know it always is, man.
Yeah.
You got to take it when you can get them.
Let's see here, Bob, for you, anything. So first, even with the stats here, so this is one of our stats views. You can switch this to box score view. But actually, sorry, one sec, I got a little bit ahead of myself. So on Dave's profile, Dave coaches multiple teams. So this box here, he can pick whichever team he's working with. If it's a past team, he can go back and look at them. I know Dave coaches like at the high school level. In the summer, he's coaching club teams. So, he might go, let's say his boys U18 team in the summer, and these are some of the games that they played. He's able to go through, schedule games on his calendar. Players get that. They get their analytics. There's some a development feature where you can compare players. And then this is where their practice stats. Now, this was before we had practice stats, so there's none there. But if you look at his statistics, I'll go back to his Holy Heart team. Pick PWC game. So one feature we have is the social share. So what that does is you can hit this button up top, share stats. So, all those programs out there, obviously with, Instagram accounts, Twitter accounts, you're trying to, get your info out to your fans and everyone after a game. What you can do here is you can pick any 3 stats you had for that game. So, for this game, maybe they're picking their 3-point, they're picking their total rebounds, and maybe their 10 block shots. That's pretty good. So we'll pick that. As soon as you pick 3, it'll create a graphic for you that you can share on social media. So it shows obviously the score of the game, what team, who you played, and then those 3 stats you picked. So you can save it to your camera roll and then share it right into your social media feeds. And then your players also have that feature individually. And the coach also has that feature. And I don't know who had a great game here, Dave, but I'm going to go with, let's go with Lehigh. So Lehigh'd be able to go into his game after, and he'd be able to pick 3 stats that, that he felt were strong about him. So maybe he's picking his 11 points, 3 block shots, and 3 assists. As soon as he picks 3, once again, it gives him his last name, his team, his number, and he's able to promote that on social media. So the thing I like when we created this, we really had the role player in mind. Obviously it's great for the 30-point scorer being able to share their stats after every game. But as coaches, we know roles are important too. So you don't just need to have 30 points to be able to share something. If you've got a good role player, maybe they went 2 for 2 from the free throw line, got a couple of steals, and blocked a big shot. So they can actually pick those 3 stats, share them to their feed, and feel just as important as the guy that scored 30 points. And that was important for us. Like I said, this was really when we did it, tailored to the amateur athlete. But like this is a great way to make everybody feel important on the team instead of just those guys that are constantly getting, who always get the attention. Let's see here. For our advanced stats, this is what you're getting. You're getting it player by player, columns and rows, obviously, like you've seen, points per possession. You can break them down quarter to quarter, and you'll see the stats changing there below as I do that. The top 3, those are after the game's complete. That's why those ones don't change. Are there any questions? Anybody got a question for me before I go into I only got 3 more things I wanted to show, and I can kind of open it up to the room.
I had one question. Can you customize your game buttons like you do your practice ones if you're looking for something very specific?
That's a great question, Amanda. So not yet, but that is coming. That's one of the big pieces of feedback we got right away. There was people that wanted to do like hockey assists, deflections, hustle points. That's one that we get all the time. People wanting to add buttons. So now that we've been able to do that with practice stats, that's something that we're working on right now for game features. And that's another thing I should say, we've been doing this for 2 years, but we're constantly developing. when coaches are talking to us and giving us feedback, we listen. So if you got something like, and chances are, Amanda, that question you had is something that multiple people have said to us. So we're agile. We want to definitely, we definitely want to hear our coaches and try and, implement things that they're saying. And I can tell you right now, that's very high on the priority list. So I would say in the next month or so with our next update, that's something you'll see. It probably won't be like practice stats where you can, do 15 things, but you'd be able to add 1 to 3 buttons so that we can make a little bit more customizable per team.
Perfect. Thanks.
No sweat. So now what I'm just going to do quick is I'm going to show you how to stat a game, show you how easy it is. So the big thing I want to mention before I do this is nothing takes more than 3 touches on your device. It's 1 touch, 2 touch, or 3 touches. That's the most elaborate thing that we do. So for Dave, he's going into his teams. He's picking his Holy Heart team. And he is creating a game. So these are his games for the season. He can always go back and view them. He can still look at his game story features. He's going to create his game. The title is, if it's a league game, exhibition. Let's say they're playing Cornerbrook. And I'll leave this stuff. You can set your start times. Whatever you set your start and end times, that's going to reflect in the calendar. So if you set them early, it's going to show up on the player's calendar, the coach's calendar. So once we go into here, obviously you can pick if it's a home and away game. We allow you to customize. I know in Newfoundland, we got different quarters and rules for every age group. So we had that in mind. We were creating at the junior high level, we play 5 quarters. First 4 quarters are 6 minutes, last is 8. So you're actually able to do that through our platform. If you're playing 12-minute quarters, 10 minutes, 8, whatever it is, you can do it. So we'll set 4 quarters, standard 10-minute FIBA game. And then from here, you need to pick if there's a player not active, you want to list them as not active. Otherwise, it's if they didn't play that game. So if you got someone injured, make sure you do that. But once you pick 5 starters, you'll be able to start your game. Now, like I said, this will look a little different on web because everything really is done for tablet. You can actually do it for web. You can stat a game, but everything that we've created is done for tablet. So once the game starts, you're starting the clock and away you go. So I always tell people by the time you get to your, by the third, I know Cassie Colbert's here. I threw Cassie to the Wolves earlier this year. I just gave her the tablet and said, have at it. And I would say by the time the second half rolled around, Cassie was a pro at it. She figured out how quick it was, how she needed to do it. And that's really how, what I say to everybody. It's a little overwhelming for the first minute or 2, but once you figure it out, it's pretty easy. So everything works left to right. So let's say first action of the game, Ian Anderson makes a 2-pointer. So you're picking his name, you're hitting what he made, 2-pointer, and then you're putting where he hit it on the court. So if you hit it from the elbow, you're just touching that spot on the court and it's recording it. So that's going to go to his shot chart, the team shot chart. It's obviously updating it on the scoreboard, up in our box score. It's doing a ton of things just with 3 simple touches. If someone got an assist, let's say Zake got an assist on the play, then we're giving Zake that assist. We're not tracking a ton for the opponent. All we're doing is their makes and misses. And the reason we're doing that is because it lets us count how many possessions they've had in the run of a game. Gives us a bit of a truer, our analytics will reflect that if you're keeping your opponent's score. So, if they made a 3, you can see it showing up on the scoreboard there. At any point, if you make a mistake, you can go into your play-by-play, delete it, and, okay, no, they missed a 3. So now I'm putting that up. So everything's really easy to fix. And then that's how the action works. I'd say the crazy action we get in a game is when, there's 5 offensive rebounds on play and, someone puts a shot in like 5 times. So that's like the one that you're really trying to get after. But besides for that, like I said, nothing takes more than 3 button touches. So it's Zake made 3 from the top, and that's it. So once you stop the clock, you're obviously doing that for your timeouts. Once I go to Q2 here, it'll doesn't erase my play-by-play, but it clears it. So it's not as cluttered. Go Q3, Q4, all my stats go through. So this is what changed my life, is when the game ended, I would hit complete game. And once we would do that, all the stats are shared with the players. It's that simple. There's nothing else to it. Right now, if the players took out their phone, all their shot charts are updated, all the analytics are there, all the stats are there, the assistant coaches have it. We're able to collaborate. So like I said, I was spending anywhere between 1.5 to 2.5 hours trying to break down those stats for players. And now as soon as our assistant or our manager hits that complete game button, it's done. It's great. So that's how you stat a game. Pretty simple. We actually on YouTube, we'll have some tutorials up. So if you need a little bit more insight, you can actually view it there. So I only want to show 2 more things. Actually, it's essentially one thing. So if I go back to my teams, pick Dave's 2021 Heart team, and I'm going to show you quickly how to do a practice. So in order to do a practice, you need to set up your drills. If you just go right into practice and you don't have any drills, nothing will show. So I set up a couple here. These are a couple things that we stat. Bird drill is a shooting drill. You have a couple of options when you're creating them. I will say with practice stats, this is still very early. We've been testing it for 6 months. It's working great. It's fully functional. But when I said earlier about the feedback, if you're someone now who's in the gym and there's something that it's not doing for you, I would love to hear from you. I would love for you to tell me, like, you know, it's great, but, you know, if you could add this feature in, you know, there's a very good chance that we will be able to be agile enough to add that in. And like I said, if you're experiencing it, it's probably something for multiple people. So when you create a drill, everything's done again through the plus button. So you can see we got a couple here. Like another shooting drill I do is called 5-spot shooting. It's a team shooting drill. So the way 5-spot works is everyone at the end tells me what their number is. Could be a negative, could be a 0, could be a positive. So that's a double entry. So that's when you enter a single score number. The player is going to tell you the number. You got to manually enter it. So sorry, I got a drill name. So that's called 5-spot shooting. Stole that one off Vance Wahlberg. Great drill. If you haven't heard of it, look it up. Save it, enter it. It's in there. So now that I got a couple drills, like I said, you can add up to 15. You don't need to track 15 every practice, but you can add up to 15 drills. And then you go into your practice and create one. Same as a game. You're picking your date, your start time, also reflected in the calendar. And once again, if someone's not available to practice, someone's not there, you make them inactive. Once you go into it, if someone shows up late, because coaches, yes, I know that happens. Players do show up late. You can go back, make them active, and still get their stats. So once you go in there, like I said, it looks a little funny with the players. On the tablet, it fits perfect, but it's the exact same thing. You're picking left to right. So I'll show you just a couple instances. Like, let's say, steal, offensive rebounds, win, losses, turnovers. Those are all just single entry. Every time you add one, 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's say Zake got an offensive rebound. If that's something that I value as a coach, then that's something that I'm going to track at practice. So I put it there for Zake. Wins is something that we do with, we're very competitive at practices. We're always tracking who's winning, who's losing drills. So, if we have a game of 5-on-5, we're giving 5 guys wins if they won that game of 5-on-5. So you just go in, pick those 5 guys, say Ian, win, Liam, win, Owen, win, down the board. Same thing, giving the guys losses. So I know early season, we were doing this all by paper. And that's quite honestly, a lot of the feedback that I got is that some people were using apps for games, but for practice, there was still a lot of, pen and paper stuff being used. Once again, saved me a ton of time after, because like a game, you complete the practice, all of the stats just got pushed to every person's mobile phone. They got a notification to say, we got it. And now they can go in and look at it. And it's just, like I said, it's as simple as that. And really, that's it. Those are the main things I wanted to show tonight. If there's something specific, someone has a question, want me to go into something, now is the time. Now is the time to show.
Ian, for the practices,
Yeah.
Do you have, so you're just saying if you're doing 5-on-5, do you just are they in by teams, or is it just you just click on each player that's on that team?
We're doing it individually, Brad.
Yeah.
So if we got a team of 5-on-5, then we're doing 1 by 1. We're not setting that like team red or team white. It's done individually. And the reason for that is because everything's reflected back to that individual player profile. You know, maybe
Right.
something to look at, being able to do it, you know, so you know how your teams are doing in practice. But right now it's not done that way.
Right on. Okay, thanks.
No sweat. Let's see here. Yeah, they can. Yeah, I think so. Lexi asked that question if assistant coaches can be on the profile as well. I know right now when you register, it says head coach or player, but you actually can get assistant coaches in there as well. So something I will just want to, you know, before people take off, we do have a 2-week trial that's free. You don't need to put your credit card in. You don't need to do, there's no obligation. You know, I know for some of our Newfoundland coaches who aren't in the gym right now, feel free to register for that trial. And once it expires and you get back in the gym, shoot me a message. I'll extend that trial for you another 2 weeks so that you can continue to try it out and use it. But if you want to go in there, put your roster in, mess around with a few things, don't worry. Like I said, I'll still give you the 2-week trial after the fact. Don't worry about that.
Ian, one of the concerns that, well, there's probably a half a dozen NLESD teachers here. One concern I would have, if teachers are using, teacher coaches are using district iPads.
Yep.
Do you foresee any problems with accessing, paying the fee, any of that? Have you been talking to the techs at NLESD? And if you haven't, I suggest maybe a phone call might be a good idea.
Yeah. So Don, are you talking like having access to the technology? Or sorry, Bob, are you talking about access to technology or internet connection?
Well, yes, all of those things, right? Because all those, like I've got a school iPad.
Yep.
But I don't use it for taking stats. I use it for Coach's Eye. They put Coach's Eye on it for me, but I've got my own tablet for taking stats. It's always a hassle to get things put on the iPad, but if I get it put on once, it should be good for the season, good for the academic year anyway.
For sure. So Bob, one thing we've done is like if you were to register your school program, if you were to register for a school program, you can actually register 8 teams. So if the school purchased it, you can have your, senior boys and girls, senior B teams, junior teams.
Yeah.
Maybe you're having 16 teams. It all falls under that. So financially, it makes some sense. And the other feature is offline mode. So we ran into that problem very early. People didn't have access to Wi-Fi when they were going into other people's schools.
Yeah.
So what you can actually do is you go in, start your game. We usually hotspot our phone just to set our lineup, and then you can stat the game in offline mode. You can stat the entire game, and then when you want to hit complete game, you just need your connection again. But it'll store everything on the device until you hit complete game. So you don't even need an internet connection to do it.
That just tweaked another question. I'll shut up in a second, but that just tweaked another question. So if I've played Heart,
yeah,
and I've already got their roster, do I need the hotspot for the second game, or am I good to go?
No, you'd need the hotspot for the second game.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, and I'm talking like it takes no data to set up a game. Like you're not having any data, like, you're not driving data on your phone or to your plan or nothing like that. It's just a matter of setting it up so you can do the actions of activating players.
Cool. Thanks, man.
No sweat. Oh, I see another question here. Yeah, Ryan, good question. Leagues are something that we can do custom. So right now, if you look at our website, everything is for club, school, and collegiate, but we would be able to set you up with a custom profile for your league that would be able to give you unlimited teams. So I know me and you've talked in the past, and that was something, quite honestly, you put that on my radar a couple months ago. So we are able to do that. So if that's something you want to test out, then we would love to be able to do that for you. No sweat. All right, well, that's great. I won't keep anyone too much longer. I want to thank everybody for making the time. Like I said to start, I know people are kind of zoomed out in this day and age right now with everyone in front of the screens all the time, but I really appreciate you making the time. If you have questions you want to ask me, feel free to ask. I would like to give a little special shout out to Don Showalter, who, Don, I wrote you yesterday and you showed up today. If anyone doesn't know Don, search him up. He's a USA basketball legend. We had him here in Newfoundland back in 2015, ran a great coaching clinic for us. Don's been working with, the best youth players in the world in the US. I really appreciate you making the time to be here on such short notice.
Yeah, it's interesting. Thanks, Ian.
No sweat. All right, thanks everybody. We'll end it there. Like I said, you got my contact information through email. Feel free to reach out to me. Really appreciate it. See ya.
Bye. Good job, Ian.
Thanks, Dave. I'll chat with you after.
Sure.
Thank you.
See you, Cass.